What if ancient civilizations weren't primitive? What if they were more advanced than we are? And what if something erased that knowledge on purpose? For as long as we've been taught history, there's been a clear narrative, a beginning rooted in simplicity, followed by slow, steady progress toward the modern world. Stone tools, bronze weapons, iron empires. Then, eventually, science, industry, and technology. A clean timeline, predictable, logical. But the deeper we look, the more that timeline begins to fracture. Because scattered across the planet are clues that don't fit, objects that appear too advanced, structures that seem impossibly precise, and techniques that, according to everything we think we know, should not have existed when they did. And this is where things don't add up, because these aren't just isolated anomalies. They appear in different continents, different cultures, different eras, with no obvious connection, and yet they all share one disturbing trait. They feel out of time, almost as if they belong to a chapter of history that was never recorded, or worse, one that was deliberately removed. Because history isn't just about what survives, it's about what's preserved, what's taught, what's repeated. And over thousands of years, knowledge can disappear, not just through time, but through choice. Wars destroy libraries, empires collapse, entire civilizations vanish without a trace. And when that happens, their knowledge doesn't always survive with them. But here's the unsettling part. What if some of it did? What if fragments of a lost technological past are still here, hidden in plain sight? Because researchers, engineers, and even skeptics have all encountered the same uncomfortable problem. Certain ancient achievements don't make sense, not with the tools we believe existed at the time, not with the methods we've been taught. And yet, they exist. Perfectly cut stone blocks weighing more than cars, fitted together so tightly that not even a piece of paper can slip between them. Ancient devices that appear capable of generating electricity, mechanisms that track the movements of the stars with shocking accuracy. This isn't just craftsmanship, it's precision, and precision requires knowledge. So where did it come from? Was it developed independently and then somehow lost? Was it passed down from a civilization we've completely forgotten? Or was it something more intentional, something that was buried, ignored, or even suppressed? Because if ancient people truly had access to advanced techniques or scientific understanding, then our entire model of human progress collapses. It wouldn't be a straight line anymore. It would be a cycle. Rise, fall, forget, repeat. And suddenly, we're not the most advanced civilization to ever exist. We're just the latest. But here's where it gets strange. When discoveries like these are made, they're often explained away, labeled as coincidences, misinterpretations, or the result of extraordinary effort using simple tools. And sometimes that's true, but not always. Because in some cases, even modern experiments fail to replicate what ancient builders achieved. Even with advanced machinery, engineers struggle to match the same level of accuracy, the same level of finish, the same level of perfection. And this is what researchers makes uncomfortable. Because if we can't fully explain how something was done, then maybe we don't fully understand the people who did it. And maybe we've been underestimating them all along. Or worse, misunderstanding them. Because the first piece of this puzzle doesn't come from a mysterious device or a forgotten text. It comes from something far more solid. Stone. Massive, immovable, ancient stone. Cut with such precision that it challenges everything we think we know about early engineering. Blocks shaped with angles so exact they interlock like a puzzle.
surfaces so smooth they reflect light, structures so durable they've survived earthquakes that destroyed everything around them. This isn't just construction, this is something else entirely. And the deeper researchers investigate these ancient stones, the more unsettling the questions become. Because the tools required to create them shouldn't have existed, and yet the results are undeniable. So how were they made? Was it lost knowledge, a forgotten technique, or something far more advanced, hiding just beneath the surface of history? Because once you start pulling on that thread, everything begins to unravel. And the first discovery will take us to a place where stone itself seems to have been shaped in ways that shouldn't be possible. But that's only the beginning, because what comes next suggests that ancient civilizations may have understood something even more powerful than stone, something invisible, something we rely on every day without even thinking about it.
It begins high in the Andes Mountains, where the air is thin, the silence is heavy, and the stones tell a story that doesn't quite make sense. Massive walls rise from the earth, built from enormous blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, cut and fitted together with an accuracy that feels almost impossible. Each stone is uniquely shaped, with multiple angles, locking perfectly into the next like pieces of a three-dimensional puzzle. No mortar, no gaps, no mistakes. But here's where it gets strange. Even after centuries of earthquakes, these structures remain standing, while modern buildings around them have crumbled. The precision isn't just impressive, it's resilient. According to historians, these walls were built using basic tools, hammerstones, chisels, and endless human labor. A slow, methodical process carried out over generations. But some believe that explanation leaves too many questions unanswered. Because when engineers attempt to recreate this level of stonework today, they often struggle, not just with the weight, but with the precision, the angles, the seamless fit. One theory suggests that ancient builders may have used a now-lost method to soften stone, temporarily turning solid rock into something malleable, like clay, before it hardened again. Another suggests advanced measuring systems far beyond what we typically attribute to that time. Because if this level of engineering existed thousands of years ago, then what else did they know? And just when you think you've reached the limit of what ancient technology could achieve, something even more unexpected appears. Hidden in plain sight, inside a simple clay jar, is a device that challenges everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. It's small, almost unremarkable, a clay vessel containing a copper cylinder and an iron rod. But when scientists tested it, something shocking happened. It generated electricity. This object, often referred to as the Baghdad Battery, dates back over 2,000 years, and when filled with an acidic liquid, like vinegar or lemon juice, it can produce a measurable electric current. This is where things don't add up. Electricity is supposed to be a relatively modern discovery, a breakthrough of the last few centuries, and yet, here is a device that seems to demonstrate a working understanding of electrical principles in the ancient world. The official explanation is cautious. Some researchers believe it may have been used for electroplating, coating objects with a thin layer of metal, possibly for decorative or ceremonial purposes. But there's no definitive evidence to confirm this, and some believe something more complex was happening. One theory suggests this wasn't just a single experiment, but part of a broader, now lost knowledge of electricity. That ancient people may have discovered ways to generate and use power long before it was officially understood. Because if even a basic form of electricity existed back then, what else could it have powered? And then we arrive at a discovery that feels almost impossible to explain away. Pulled from the depths of the sea, encrusted in corrosion and mystery, was a device that would leave scientists stunned. At first glance, it looked nothing more than a lump of bronze fragments. But as researchers carefully examined it, something extraordinary emerged. A system of gears, interlocking, precise, intricate. This is where things become truly unsettling, because this device, now known as the Antikythera Mechanism, is capable of predicting astronomical events with remarkable accuracy. Solar eclipses, lunar cycles, planetary movements, all calculated through a complex arrangement of mechanical gears. It's often described as the world's first analog computer. But here's where researchers get uncomfortable. Nothing like it appears for over 1,000 years. No gradual development, no simpler versions leading up to it, no obvious evolution. It just appears. According to historians, it was likely created by highly skilled Greek engineers using advanced mathematics and careful craftsmanship. But some believe that explanation doesn't go far enough. One theory suggests that this device isn't the beginning of something, but the end. A surviving fragment of a much older technological tradition, one that had already reached its peak and was beginning to disappear. Because if a machine this advanced existed once, why didn't the knowledge spread? Why wasn't it improved, replicated, or preserved? Unless something interrupted it. Unless something caused that knowledge to vanish. And if that's the case, then these discoveries aren't just isolated mysteries. They're warnings. Fragments of something bigger. Something we're only beginning to glimpse. Because the next set of discoveries doesn't just challenge what ancient people could build, it challenges what they might have understood. And that's where things take a much darker turn.
Deep in the Egyptian desert, rising from the sands like a silent monument to something we don't fully understand, stands one of the most studied structures in human history, the Great Pyramid. At first glance, it's exactly what we've been told, a massive tomb built for a powerful ruler constructed through sheer human effort, millions of stone blocks stacked with determination and precision. But this is where things start to feel off, because the more closely it's measured, the more precise it becomes. Its alignment to true north is nearly perfect, more accurate than many modern structures. Its proportions reflect mathematical relationships that wouldn't be formally described until thousands of years later. And this is what makes researchers uncomfortable, because achieving that level of precision isn't just about effort, it requires knowledge. According to historians, the pyramid was built using ramps, simple tools, and a highly organized workforce, a monumental feat of engineering for its time. But some believe there's more beneath the surface. One theory suggests the structure may have been designed with a deeper understanding of energy, resonance, or even natural frequencies, that it wasn't just a tomb, but something functional, something intentional in ways we don't yet understand. Because if this is true, everything changes. The pyramid wouldn't just be a symbol of power, it would be evidence of knowledge we've lost. And then there are the lines carved in the earth itself. Across vast deserts and rugged landscapes, ancient pathways stretch for miles, perfectly straight, cutting through hills, valleys, and solid rock, not bending with the terrain, but ignoring it. This is where things don't add up, because creating perfectly straight lines over such distances requires advanced surveying techniques, a level of planning and precision that feels out of place for the time. According to researchers, these were likely created through careful observation, basic tools, and an extraordinary amount of labor. But some believe there's another explanation. One theory suggests that ancient builders may have had access to tools or methods that allowed them to shape and cut through stone far more efficiently than we assume. Techniques that haven't survived or haven't been recognized. Because when you look at some of these cuts, they don't feel random. They feel intentional, clean, controlled, almost mechanical. And that raises a disturbing question. If ancient civilizations could reshape entire landscapes with that level of precision, then what else were they capable of?
And then we arrive at something that blurs the line between myth and memory. Across multiple ancient cultures, there are stories, detailed, repeated, and strangely consistent, of machines that could fly. Not metaphors, not vague symbols, descriptions. In ancient Sanskrit texts, there are references to something called the Vimana, a flying craft said to move through the sky with speed and control. Some writings go into surprising detail, describing materials, propulsion concepts, and even flight patterns. The official explanation is clear. These are myths, symbolic stories, expressions of imagination and cultural belief. But here's where it gets strange. The level of detail in some of these texts has led certain researchers to pause, not because it proves anything, but because it raises questions. Because myths usually simplify, they don't engineer. Some believe these stories may be exaggerated accounts of real observations, that ancient peoples might have witnessed something they didn't fully understand and recorded it the only way they could. Others go further. One theory suggests that these texts could be fragmented memories of lost technologies, passed down through generations, distorted over time, but never completely forgotten. And this is where things take a darker turn. Because even if a fraction of these ideas are rooted in reality, then we're not just dealing with lost tools or forgotten techniques. We're dealing with lost capabilities. Capabilities that for some reason disappeared completely. No transition, no trace of development, just gone. And that raises a question that's hard to ignore. Was it lost by accident, or was it erased? Because the final discoveries don't just hint at advanced knowledge, they suggest something far more unsettling, that this loss may not have been natural at all. And if that's true, then what we're about to uncover isn't just history, it's something much closer to a secret.
Hidden in the shadows of ancient ruins, there are details so subtle they're easy to miss, until you look closer. Deep inside certain stone chambers and archaeological sites, researchers have found surfaces that don't look ancient at all. Smooth grooves, perfectly rounded holes, cuts so clean they resemble the work of modern drilling equipment. But here's where it gets unsettling. When these marks are analyzed under magnification, some of them show patterns consistent with high-speed rotary tools, the kind that require controlled pressure, stability, and advanced engineering. This is where things don't add up, because the civilizations that created these structures weren't supposed to have anything like that. According to mainstream explanations, these features could be the result of patient manual work using primitive drills, abrasives like sand, and incredible persistence over time. And in some cases, that may be true. But some researchers remain unconvinced, because replicating these exact marks, even today, can be surprisingly difficult without modern machinery. And this is what makes people uneasy. Because if ancient builders had access to tools capable of this level of precision, then those tools are gone, completely gone. No remains, no clear evolution, no explanation. And then we reach the final discovery. Not a single object, not a structure, but a pattern that appears again and again across completely different civilizations. Ancient cultures from around the world, separated by oceans, languages, and thousands of years, tell eerily similar stories. Stories of a time before, a time when knowledge was greater, when humanity reached a peak and then suddenly fell. Floods that covered the earth, fires that fell from the sky, darkness that consumed entire civilizations. The official explanation is straightforward. These are myths, symbolic narratives shaped by human fear and imagination, natural disasters remembered and retold in dramatic ways. But here's where it gets strange. The similarities are too consistent. Different cultures describing the same kind of collapse, the same idea of something lost. Some believe these stories are more than coincidence.
One theory suggests they are fragmented memories of a real global event, a moment in history where advanced knowledge, whatever form it took, was wiped out, not gradually, but all at once. And if that's true, then everything we've seen begins to connect. The precision stonework that we can't fully replicate, the ancient devices that hint at electricity, the mechanisms that track the stars with impossible accuracy, the structures aligned with knowledge we don't expect them to have. They're not isolated mysteries. They're pieces, fragments of something that once existed and no longer does. And this is what makes the entire picture so unsettling. Because if there was a civilization before ours, one that reached a higher level of knowledge, then we're not at the top of history. We're standing on the remains of something we barely understand. And the most disturbing part, we don't know what caused it to disappear. Was it a natural catastrophe, a series of events that reset human progress, or something more deliberate? Because if knowledge this advanced truly existed and then vanished without a trace, it raises a question we can't ignore. Not just what was lost, but why? Why does so little of it remain? Why do these discoveries feel scattered, incomplete, almost hidden? And why, every time we get close to an answer, does it seem to slip away? Because if even a fraction of this is real, if ancient civilizations really did possess knowledge far beyond what we've been told, then history isn't just missing pieces, it's been rewritten. And maybe, just maybe, we're not rediscovering the past, we're uncovering something that was never meant to be found. So the question is no longer whether ancient civilizations were more advanced than we think. The question is, who decided that we should forget?